I'd like to start this review by sending out a huge thank you to Ryan Boyle for sending out this lovely facsimile copy of Le Calendrier Magique. It was published by Metastazis, bigcartel.com, I guess. And I'll leave links in the description, of course. What is this? Well, it's the ancestor of the magical almanac. An ancestor to what we currently have published every year by Ignota Books, for example, who every year publish an agenda, an almanac for the upcoming year's important astrological events, and some interesting occult thoughts or esoteric practices, or just some short articles and that kind of thing. And essentially in 1895, these two artists, a poet called Austin de CROZE and an artist called Martin ORAZI, got together and put together this book. I believe it was commissioned, and it's, yeah, you can see it's very, very tall, right? And it's all in this lovely Art Nouveau style, which is kind of making me think about the term Art Nouveau, right? As Ars Novus. It's not really something that I'd considered in the past, but yes, you can see that every page is just lavishly decorated with occult symbology and with magical symbols and magical ideas, some of which are explained, some of which are just stamped onto the page, right? So you can see that it was clearly written at the time that Eliphas Levi was active, and that was he was clearly an influence on what's written inside. Some of the writing makes no sense, just barbarous words, and some of it is just poetry. Some of it is just practical almanac material. It's all handwritten, it's all hand painted. It's just a work of art, right? It's just a work of art. Now, if you turn right to the maybe I won't turn right to the back quite yet, but I'll show you the way you have January, or all the month names are written in Latin. And then you get some details for that month, right? You get the actual calendar, you get the influences from the 1st to the 10th. It's under the influence of Jupiter, and so on and so forth. And yes, and some symbols. Some of them seem to be there really for no purpose at all. Some of them seem to be there as an enchantment. Some of them seem to be there as an instruction. But most of all, this does seem to be a work of art, right? A work of occultly inspired art. The main reason why I say this, although so much of this is accurate, it's good stuff, right? It's clearly taken from real occult material. I wouldn't say it's a fantastic place to start if you're looking to get into the occult. I wouldn't say pick this up and everything will be clear. No, it kind of uses the symbols, but doesn't really go into any details as to what those symbols are, why they're there, or anything like that, right? And if you turn to the back, as I was about to do a little earlier on, you'll read an entire it's kind of sweet. He's basically saying, you who are going through these pages, having in your soul the hope for unhealthy an unhealthy help, to find it in there as supreme power of evil. Be deceived, or excuse me, be disappointed. As always, were disappointed. Those with a dried up heart, with a malefic spirit. Those who have a selfish, childish, those who are selfish and childish, and who would devote themselves to Satan, and it's basically about how, yeah, if you're a bad person, then that's bad, and if you're a good person, then that's good. And well, I mean, of course, I mean, it goes without saying, but it seems a little bit that there's a deep misunderstanding from the authors about what it is, in fact, that they're dealing with here, right? So I would suggest that it's not necessarily something to be used as a source for magic, but really just as a very, very beautiful object. And I want to talk a little bit about the effort that the publishers have made to reproduce the original beauty of the book, and these all these different colors of ink that are used here, the red and the gold, which is so, I mean, it's difficult to show you on the screen here, but the gold is actually kind of it's not just this kind of yellow brown greenish hue that's coming up on the screen here, but it's actually a little bit shiny in the light. They've actually made an effort to reproduce the look and feel of gold colored ink, which would have been on the original. And it's just really, really lovely. Yeah, I mean, you really have to think of this as a work of art, not necessarily as a useful work of magic. Although, if you were living in 1896, then the calendars would actually be accurate. So I would say that that's about where the use of this ends. But not everything that is beautiful has to be useful, right? And of course, I'll point you to the beautifully sewn. It seems possibly hand sewn spine there. Very, very cool stuff. So unusual to see something so beautifully produced, right? It is paperback, but when I originally saw the price, I thought to myself, "Oh, that's quite a lot of money." But seeing it firsthand, I'm actually surprised that they managed to produce it at such a low price. In fact, it was sent to me between two sheets of cardboard. It arrived actually from the United States, and there's a tiny little dint in the top corner there, but there is shipping from it originally shipped from Paris. It's currently, at the time of writing, it's currently sold out in Europe. I believe there's a little bit of stock in the United States, but there's going to be more editions, right? More coming out in the near future. Possibly by the time you're seeing this video, there are in fact more. It's worth looking around. And let me just show you this little pamphlet that came inside it, right? It was just tucked inside the book. And essentially it is really nothing more nor less than a full transcription of the French over here. Let me just zoom in a little bit. You get the French on the left-hand side, and then the English translation on the right-hand side. So if you're kind of rather flowery, I'm sure it was dated at the time even, right? French language, c'est toi is not the certainly not a form of this, right? ce calendrier. It's certainly not a modern form. I'm pretty sure that pretty much died out in the Middle Ages, but nevertheless, it's the kind of format that they're using, a kind of affectation that they decided to use. What else can I say to you? It's a little bit sexist, There's no doubt about that. It's clearly the conjurations are quite often about how the ladies will not be able to resist me, etc., etc., that kind of stuff. Take that as you will, but yes, really, I think the important thing here really is to remember that this is a work of art, really, nothing more nor less, and a very beautiful one at that. There we go, very, very cool, and very, very beautifully reproduced. All right, I hope you enjoyed the review, and don't forget to leave a thumbs up, and yeah, subscribe down below if you haven't done so already, and I'll see you very soon with another video. Take care of yourselves. Bye bye.